Welcome to Reach, your platform to connect with other executive assistants and acquire game-changing knowledge and perspective. Reach is designed to inspire your workday, guide you through pivotal moments in your career, and transform you into the executive assistant you've always wanted to be. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reach. This is your host, Jessica Van. I am the founder and CEO of Maven Recruiting Group, and I have a guest on our program today who I am so excited to connect with. Hi, Camille.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, welcome. This is such a treat to have you. Thank you for joining us.
The pleasure is all mine. I'm so excited to be here with you.
The focus of today's episode, with Mother's Day right around the corner, is to do an episode specifically for the working moms, such as Camille, such as myself. Today, we'll be delving into a conversation that resonates deeply with many of you, which is balancing the demands of motherhood and an elite executive assistant career, working at the top of the professional ladder. As I mentioned, we're joined by Camille Howard. Camille is a phenomenal executive assistant whose journey to the top is nothing short of inspiring. I can't wait to get into it. Camille is a U.S. veteran who transitioned seamlessly into the corporate world. She now serves as a C-level executive assistant supporting the CEO of Mastercard. You all know the one. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's Mastercard. I think that is seriously the best campaign in the world. Beyond her professional accolades, Camille embodies the essence of resilience and balance. She seamlessly navigates the intricacies of both career and motherhood. And in today's episode, we're going to hear from Camille regarding her insights, her experiences, and her invaluable wisdom on how she manages this delicate dance between her role as executive assistant to the CEO of Mastercard, no less, and of course, her cherished role as mother. So without any further ado, welcome to the show, Camille.
Yay! So excited. Thank you.
Too.
That was such a warm welcome.
I mean, you have earned every bit of that, let me tell you. So I think before we jump in today's topic, it would be wonderful if you could first share with our audience a little bit about your incredible story of serving the U.S. Air Force combat, working in the Pentagon, and then ultimately transitioning to the world of tech in corporate America as an executive assistant. How did all of this unfold? What challenges did you face in getting Silicon Valley and the tech world to be able to relate to your background?
Wow, that's a big one. Okay. So where to begin? I went into the military right out of high school. And for me, it was the best. I feel like it's one of the best decisions I ever made. It really prepared me for the real world and being able to face challenges head on, right? Even in a state of fear and uncertainty. So, and I feel like as a young person, that really gave me what I needed to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, truly. And it was amazing. I did spend time overseas. Like you said, I am a combat veteran. So I spent time in Iraq and Afghanistan, and my brothers and sisters in arms, like I have those friendships and I'll have them for the rest of my life, because obviously we went through so much together. We all sacrificed and we banded together and we trained together and, had just amazing experiences. And so I really look back on that time with great fondness. And I transitioned out of the military and continued working for the DoD. And I spent more time overseas, more time in Baghdad and in Iraq. And I think for me at that point, it was like I had been an executive assistant in the military and when you're an executive assistant in the military, when you're in any kind of career field in the military, they give you additional duties. And I feel like they kind of, for me, in this specific career field as an EA, it's you have to be doing multiple things at once. You have to be a jack of all trades. And I feel like they just really set me up for success to do this long term. So I did. I went back overseas, and that's where I ended up meeting my husband. And yes, we met in Baghdad, and we decided we would go back to DC together, and we would start our life and start a family. And that's exactly what we did, and that's what landed me at the Pentagon. And again, it was another great experience for me. It was using my skills that I learned in the military and being able to contribute again to something that feels like I'm making a difference and it matters, and that's where I could really show my value, and so that's, and then that's when I became a mom as well. And so being introduced to motherhood and getting used to being a civilian again. So it was another huge transition for me and as a new mom. And that was really like probably the biggest challenge, bigger than being in one of the most austere environments on the planet, bigger than, training to go to war. I feel like motherhood, like it's...
That is saying a lot, Camille. As someone who's been on both sides of that, I think that is a harrowing statement, to say the least.
No, it's
motherhood
so true.
and being on the battalion and the field. That is saying a lot. I'm looking at this amazing blowout that you have going on, Camille, and I'm looking at this poise, and I'm trying to picture you in the desert and in an army combat zone. And is it really true what they say? Like they give you like 3 minutes in the morning to get ready, get dressed, and be on your way. Is that true, or is that an embellishment?
I mean, in training, it's definitely exactly like that. It's exactly as they describe it. When you're in training, you're being trained to be able to take off in an instant and be ready for what's next, right?
Yeah, right.
So definitely training is very much like that. Yes.
Right. And like sleep deprivation training, right? And being able to respond, which is, I mean, a perfect parallel for motherhood, right? Being able to be functional on 3 hours of sleep.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So it definitely prepared me. Right? I got to put some of those things in action as a mom, and it served me well. But boy, the wins in motherhood, I mean, what compares to that? Because you're right, it is. I mean, there's sleepless nights, and there's, definitely days where the rest is nowhere in sight, right? Between, if you're a working mother, you have a very demanding career. Sometimes the days and nights spent with no rest sometimes are many. So.
Right. Well, so on that note, so you mentioned that you were working at the Pentagon when you became a mother. So you had transitioned into more of the kind of, I don't want to say desk job, but more of that phase of your career. At the time, what were some of the challenges that you faced in those initial days of becoming a mother and also navigating your role within the Pentagon?
Yeah, I think that's where I really learned how precious time is, because you want to put in, as an EA, you want to put in time and effort in getting to know, your executive and your leader. At that time, working, in the Undersecretary of Defense's office, it was a busy time in the world, and the stakes were high. And at home, being a mom and wanting to spend as much time as possible, wanting to be a part of those, those moments that are fleeting, and they come at you fast when they're learning to walk and they're learning to talk, and then they're running, and then they're riding bikes, and and you want to be there for all of it. You don't want to miss any of it. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge is trying to be present and being present in the moment, right? And really being present, really appreciating it, um, and letting that fulfill you, letting that fill you up, and so that it can help you move forward and help you become better. So yeah.
Do you think that sometimes the amount of busyness that you're experiencing as a professional impedes your ability to be present in the moment for those things?
I think early on, definitely. That's honestly, I think that's part of, becoming, just growing into motherhood is learning balance. I think what's a greater teacher than becoming, a mother, learning balance. And I feel like now I'm a lot better at it. I know now. I know what questions to ask, especially of my executive from the beginning, so that I know when are their peak hours and when they're going to be the most active. Are they morning people? Do they tend to, be most responsive at night, when things are a little bit more quiet? And so I feel like I've been able to now weave in those moments where I can really be most present at home and with my family and with my daughter. But that has taken some time, and you really have to give yourself grace in learning what that looks like for you and for your life and for your career.
So how are you handling that right now? Because from where most of us sit, looking at you, looking at your career, looking at what you've accomplished, you're in really one of the most elite positions you could imagine being in as an executive assistant. Like it doesn't get much higher than the office of the CEO of Mastercard, right? And so to be in that seat, and then also to know that you have this very full and robust and beautiful whole other life as a wife and as a mother, and I know how important that is to you. How do you navigate those demands? And how do you create space for both without sacrificing or putting one in a subordinate position to the other? Or maybe you do at times, right? But
Hmm.
how do you navigate that and create space for both?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like one thing is really crucial. I feel like it's important to take your time off. Take your vacation time. Take use your sick days, and the way that you'll become comfortable doing that, because it's easy to say here on camera, but I have been definitely guilty of never taking that time for myself, and never, then starting a family and feeling like I need to take more, but I'm just not able to. But I feel like what I've done, you have to kind of set yourself up for success to be able to be away. So what that means at work, you know, creating those processes, documenting your processes and the things that you do throughout the day, especially those things that you're doing to make your life a little bit easier. Those little tricks that, in ways to get things done in a quick and efficient manner. And documenting those things so that if you are away and you have someone covering down for you, this helps them be successful, and it makes you more comfortable with being away, knowing that they do understand how things should be handled in your absence, and that you can trust that it will be a seamless situation when you're away. So I think that, for me, that's something, again, that I've grown to be that I'm better at now. And being able to step away and really dedicate that time to my family. So I would say take your vacation, ladies and gentlemen, just, take the time that you deserve. You work really hard in this career field. You're working 24 hours a day, sometimes through the weekends, through holidays, through birthdays. So, and when I'm able to fully step away, that's when I'm able to be most present, to come back, bring it back to your question. So I think that's number one. And then you come back to work and you're much more fulfilled, and you remember your purpose and your reason, and it's usually your family. And so that helps drive you forward in your career and your performing, in your performance. And so I think that's number one. And number two is, again, what I mentioned about getting to know your executive and when they're the most busy, and finding the balance between when you really need to be on and active and responsive, right? And it's circumstantial, it's situational when they're traveling and when they're going abroad, and when they might be down, when they might have some downtime. It's kind of like when you start out as a new mom and they say, when your baby's sleeping, you sleep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, it's
You
very
have
much
to
like that,
synchronize.
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes, yes.
At the same time, I know there's got to be moments in your world where your daughter comes home and she wants your full attention because, I don't know, somebody was mean to her at school, or on the flip side, she, I don't know, maybe she won the spelling bee, or she was, had an amazing moment in the course of her day, and something is blowing up on your desk, and there's an inevitable crisis, which I know happens no matter how vigilant we are, no matter how proactive we are in the world that is as delicately managed as yours. Things go sideways. And how do you buffer those two things so that your daughter doesn't feel that you're not present for her, and at the same time your executive, who's clearly a super important person in your life as well, doesn't feel that you've gone AWOL on on the work?
Wow. Okay. Well, in those situations, I feel like, first of all, my daughter is now 12. So now is a little bit easier than maybe it was when she was 6, right? Or when she was 3, because we have, especially in our house, like, communication is key at home and at work. So, first of all, I'm not missing a moment to celebrate my daughter. I know that, again, these moments are fleeting, and she's growing up so fast right in front of my eyes. And so I'm never missing a chance to say, yay, and I'm so proud of you, and communicating that right away, filling her up, hugging her, grabbing her. And what I'll usually do, if there is something that's going on at the moment, I'll say, let's think of something that we can do to celebrate. Think of some things, write them down, show them to daddy, and let's figure out, where we're going to celebrate this win, because this is amazing, right? And so I may not be able to be in full on celebration mode in that minute. I may have to go back and deal with this situation, and I'll communicate that, you know, um, that give me 10 minutes and let's have a family meeting, right? And so that's kind of how we've navigated those moments, right? Um, and the better you know your executive, the better you know how to respond to a crisis. No two are the same. So one may expect you to be, on your laptop, sending them something on an email, or off your phone, and one maybe want to get on the phone with you and be on text message with you. So it really depends on how they communicate as well. And so, it's, again, it for me, that's been the best course, is I can't miss a moment to celebrate and say yay. But we try to create a little bit of balance and transparency about what's going on at the moment.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that's real, and I think that we
Yeah.
do the absolute best we can to be as present as we can. If you can be 100% present, hats off to you, and more power to you. I feel like, I'll speak for myself. If I'm 90% present, I feel like that's a win on a lot of days,
A win is a win.
right? Because there's so many things vying for our attention, and like you, like, I want to be at the basketball game, and I want to catch the play, and I want to catch when she makes the three-pointer. And if I'm looking away because I'm dealing with something, there's that kind of inherent tension between wanting to be fully present in everything. And I think that, for myself at least, like, those things come into conflict at times. And you do the best that you can, and you also know that, you know, 85% might be a win today. Might not be 100%. That's, at least that's how I feel about it.
Absolutely. And we have kind of a coded language in our house as well, where it's like, what's the weather like? Is what we'll
Mm.
ask.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
And, it's cloudy. It's raining sideways. It's sunny and the birds are chirping,
Right.
and so that kind of sets the tone. But again, I feel like communication again is key all around, right? I will share, which I didn't share previously with, my executive. I'll share the things from time to time that are going on with my family. Oh, my sister has graduated from college, and so they have a little, not too much, right? But
Right.
enough to share that, like, you are human and you do have a human experience, right, going
Yeah.
on. And so you don't want to not share those things, to have that connection on many different levels. And also at home, and saying, I'm not going to miss this game. I'm going to be there. Can't wait to cheer for you. I may have some things going on for work, but I will absolutely be there. And I feel like the more that I'm communicating, I feel better, and she feels good about the situation.
Right.
Ultimately, they want you to be present. They want to see your face, and know that you're there for them. So you do what
Right.
you can do, like you said, Jessica.
Right. And setting expectations. I think that's
Yeah.
key, all around, setting expectations at work, in your family life, in your personal life. So, how do you feel like being a mother has influenced how you show up as an assistant for your leaders? So, for example, has it made you more empathetic in certain ways, or has it increased your efficiency perhaps in ways that you didn't expect, or ways that you didn't have prior to becoming a mother?
Definitely, I feel like leading with empathy, as a mother, and in your career, and as an executive assistant, has benefited, my life greatly. Um, it's when you take on this role as the support and the right hand of such busy executives. Um, often, when you're dealing with itineraries, and you're dealing with other extremely busy schedules, and you have cars and hotels, you have all the things going on. And once you get your processes down, you can kind of move through the motions, you know, with a little bit more finesse and smoothness over time, right? So after you've done it for such a long time. But when you become a mother as well, I feel like leading with empathy and understanding that you are dealing with someone who also has a family, and they have family dynamics, and other things going on outside of their careers, and the aspirations that they have, right, in their roles every day. And I feel like it humanizes, you and the situation, becoming a mother, and having that empathy and bringing that to work every day, because I feel like you're then taking. I feel like you take a little bit more better care, right? Like you're thinking about them, as a whole, and can navigate the everyday and all of those things that you have to tend to, and make sure that they're 100% right, and make sure things are running flawlessly. And I feel like whenever you have that connection as a mother, it's like, you're interacting with another human who has people who love and care about them. And so you want them safe, right? You want security to be on point. You want, their things to be calibrated and updated, and so that they're taken care of, right, on all fronts. So I think it makes you think a little bit differently. It makes you think about, different aspects of their life, and how you can make a difference.
Yeah. Well, I like what you said there about tending to the whole person. And I think that it allows you, in the same way that you cherish and prioritize and want to be there for your loved ones, I think it allows you to see that and view that and have that perspective for the person that you're also caring for in the professional realm. And I think it's an interesting thing to explore around, how the executive assistant role can help an executive to achieve better work-life balance. And I think when you have that perspective of tending to the whole person, you can then look at that person. And I know that's something that you do very effectively, Camille, is, really kind of evaluating, hey, as busy as you are, executive, what's meaningful to you on the personal realm, and how can I enable those moments for you, and how can I protect those moments for you so that you can also be the kind of father or husband or whoever that you want to be. And I know that's something that you put a lot of care and vigilance into doing. So yeah, and I think that it does come from a place of compassion and empathy, and being able to um, appreciate that your executive is having a human experience as you are, as you said so well earlier.
Yes.
We're all trying to have a human experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a
What are
positive one at that,
A positive one.
Yes.
What are some of the ways that you've been able to impact that for some of your leaders? To, I guess, positively impact their human experience and their personal experience.
Yes. So I think that being able to um, introduce myself to the people who, and get to know the people who that they trust the most, and getting to know the qualities about those people that has brought them to be so close and be so trusted, um, and learning about them and creating a relationship there. And that helps in turn, educates me on who this person is, right, and what matters most to them. And so I will, if I have the opportunity to connect with their spouse or their children, right? If I have an opportunity to obviously connect them with their friends, right? And so knowing their trusted circle, and getting to know those individuals, and lending support when I can lend supports in any way, right? I think that definitely has definitely helped me in that way, and helps my executives thrive.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you can help somebody get closer to their aspirational existence, right? This is what I hope to be. This is how I hope to show up for the people I care about. This is what I hope to experience in my life. Anytime you can get them closer to that, I feel like that's a really meaningful and important contribution as a
Definitely. And I think that helping them with things like boundaries, and hard cutoff times for certain things, and protecting those things for them, and being the bad guy sometimes that has to tell the other things that they may have to take a beat, right? And being that person to do that on their behalf, it goes a long way. And helping them establish their boundaries and maintain what that looks like, and maybe sometimes helping that evolve with changing priorities and changing personal situations. So being tuned into those things help.
hmm So I know we're sitting here and it's all roses and rose-colored glasses, and it's, seemingly all so easy and whatnot, right? But I would like to know, and I'm sure our listeners would like to know, what has it looked like when it wasn't all rose-colored glasses, right? What are some of the sacrifices that you have had to make and have had to endure, and challenges that you've had to overcome to be able to be in the place that you're at now, and to be able to seemingly do it all? I know it hasn't come without a cost at times. And if you're willing to share, I think it would be um, very humanizing, and also, kind of validating to hear some of the challenges that have come with it.
Yeah, for sure. Hmm. On the road to being able to better balance life and family and career, I think that I think early on, because of how I came into this career field, because I was introduced to it in a military setting. And when you go into the military and when you choose the career that you're going to go with, they then send you to schools right away. So you're spending months in schools, you're spending months in training for combat, but also how to do this job and how to do it really well and under pressure. And so they try to create, right, like this superhuman. And so you are 24/7 just dedicating yourself and your life to the mission. Whatever that mission is at the time, that's what all efforts are going towards that. And it's all night training. It's through the night training. It's not eating and not sleeping. And so coming into the other side of things, leaving the military, doing this from a civilian standpoint now, I feel like early on in my career, I was willing to sacrifice everything. I was only work early on. And I know that I missed out on opportunities to, connect and have experiences and of course I made connections with people that I was, working with. And that's, for me, I feel like I've continued to do that. I formed very strong connections and bonds with people that I'm going after, success with, right, every day in my career. But I feel like that's where I was hyper focused on in the beginning. And so, for me, I feel like the biggest challenge for me was to make the transition and to learn more about creating balance. And you know what? Like I said, taking the time off and taking a vacation and exploring the world, not while working, but on my personal time, right? So I definitely early on feel like the biggest sacrifice for me was definitely time and trying to find out, how do I have a personal life and what does that look like? And does that change what success looks like for me, right? Can I still be super successful at this job if I'm not dedicating all of my time, all nights and weekends, and if I'm not this 24/7? Is it going to be okay, and will I still be great? And so it's kind of like an identity thing early on if you're ambitious, right? It's you identifying solely as this career person, and motherhood shook that up.
I was going to say, was your daughter the greatest teacher as far as that transition goes?
For sure. She came into this world and shook everything up, and she was an amazing baby. And I remember she was colicky at first, and she cried all the time, and for no reason at all. She would cry in the car. She would cry everywhere. And once we figured out what we needed to do, she liked to be wrapped like a little burrito. She liked, she loved that, and that made her feel good. And so that was one of our tricks that we learned. And then all of a sudden she was just like the perfect baby. She never cried anymore after that. She's never been a crier. She's never been she doesn't throw fits or anything like that. She just, she's a really great person, has grown so much already. And I think that she definitely forced my hand, because there was no choice in that. Like, she was just, she became everything. And so it definitely changed things up. And I needed to learn and figure out, how was I going to still do great work, excel in my career, be that right hand and trusted right hand to my executives, but also, try to be the best mother I could be.
That's an interesting discussion about kind of how the way that you identify and what you're identified with, how that transitions and changes as your life broadens and the scope of things and the landscape of things that you care about changes, right? And increases in many ways. And I think that, I relate a lot to some of the things that you said about being really identified with work and that being kind of your primary um, and really being willing to kind of leave it all out there for the job, like making the job the center relationship in your life. And I certainly have been guilty of that and have done that. And I remember nights, in my earlier career, like being at work till 8:30 because I could be, because there was nobody that expected anything of me. And I was like, yeah, I'll just keep cranking because the more I crank, the better I do, and the more I accomplish, and the better off my career will be. And then there becomes this moment where it's like that's no longer available to you, and you have to figure out how to reorient your entire career existence, the way that you relate to your job in a totally different way. And so that you can also show up for the other things, right? And I think there's like a real kind of um it can be a little bit of an upheaval, and it can be a little bit unsettling in the beginning, trying to kind of figure out how all of those chips, it's like you throw all the chips up and it's like, how are they going to land, and how do we kind of reconstitute who you are as a professional. um, so yeah, I think I mean, clearly you figured it out, and you said, am I still going to be as good? I mean, I think the answer to that is self-evident. You obviously figured it out. But there's a moment of kind of, I don't want to say panic, but kind of a moment of, okay, how is this all going to work? And how am I gonna make it all come together? And truth be told, sometimes I feel like we're all just hanging on by a thread.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
that's the other reality, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. So some days it's a rope, and a lot of days it's a thread.
For
Um,
sure.
So, as a mother to a young daughter, you mentioned she's 12. What do you
Mhm.
hope to impart to her by modeling what a successful career woman looks like, alongside the role that you play of her mother? What do you hope that she learns by observing you through these?
Hmm. Uh, I really hope that she sees what I've done, sees what I've dedicated myself to, and and decides that she's going to dedicate herself to the things that she loves. Um, I hope that she finds purpose in what she chooses to do every day. I hope that's something that fills her up and brings out the best in her. Right. I hope that she feels inspired, to just be the best version of herself. That's it, right? If she decides to play the guitar, on stage, and or if she decides that she wants to, you know, lead her own, be a leader of a company, if she decides she wants to be a doctor, whatever it is, I want her to look at me and my life and what I've done and just say, well, I know if I dedicate myself to this thing, I'll reach my goals, whatever that looks like. I just want her to be happy, right? I don't want her to find herself anywhere where she doesn't feel like she's not fulfilled and not happy. That's it. That's all. And I want her to feel that, I was very much a busy career, woman, but I was made time for her. And I hope that she just knows that she's the most important, person in me and her father's life. And family is important. And she saw where I tried to create that balance and be there for as much of everything as possible.
Yeah,
So I hope she sees all of that, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Well, and
yeah.
I think, how could she not look at you and think to herself, anything is possible? Truly, like with enough focus and conviction and sacrifice and effort, I mean, anything is
Yeah.
possible. Like, you've amassed some phenomenal life experiences, and the situations that you've sought for yourself have, you've conscientiously gone for the challenges in life, and you've prevailed. And I think that that's an incredibly profound lesson to teach, especially a daughter, like that whatever you set yourself to, you're modeling that for her. Whatever you set yourself to, you are capable of achieving. What a lesson. What a role model you are for her.
That's such a great perspective. Thanks for highlighting that. I mean, I feel like you hit something there when it comes to choosing the hard thing for me and in my life. I feel like that's usually the thing that requires a little bit more of me, that makes me comfortable, makes me a little bit uncomfortable, and I'm not quite certain how it'll turn out, but I know that I'm going to give it my best. And I know I feel like those are the things that have paid off the best for me in my career and in my life, is not always choosing the easy route, going the hard route. It's definitely taken me further. And the other thing is like, I haven't done any of this alone. Like, just like I described to you, getting to know your executives, like trusted circle, for me, I definitely have been elevated by some amazing people along the way who were just willing to, like, be a partner, be, an inspiration to me, be an advisor, be someone to just give me great advice when they didn't even know they were giving me great advice. And so as a mother, I feel like we try to find opportunities with our children to listen to the things that aren't quite being said, right? And we grow that tendency to, like, be tuned in even when they're not talking. And so I feel like that translates into the career, where it's like you have to seek your tribe. You have to have your village and trusted people, because they're going to help you get to where you want to go as well. Like, how many people do I have in my phone right now who I consider like sisters and like brothers to me, or an auntie or an uncle, right? Like, from all different types of walks of life and different experiences. That has definitely helped me throughout my career, and I would not be in the role that I'm in without those people. So,
Yeah. Our
yeah.
angels. Yes.
Yes.
So I think that a lot of people, especially women, especially mothers, grapple with how much is appropriate to disclose in the interview process around having a family, having children or a child or young children. I think it's a real challenge, because they don't want to be potentially dismissed from a role that's a demanding one, such as the ones that you're in, right? But on the other hand, they want to be honest and upfront about the fact that they have constraints. So how have you navigated that? And is it something you typically disclose in sharing that you have a family, and obviously sharing that it's a priority for you? And I guess, how would you recommend that people tackle these conversations in an interview process?
Yeah, that's a great question. Um, I think that definitely for me, I feel like leading with honesty and openness from the start. It's a two-way street. You're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, or at least you should be, because you have to be your own biggest advocate in this, right? So if your situation personally is one where you have great support, and you have it down to where you can create good balance, and you can dedicate yourself to whatever the opportunity is, then I mean, I would definitely disclose that I have a family, and I have a family, or I have a growing family, and that's very precious to me. And so is this opportunity, and we're all very excited about this, prospective opportunity. And we all hope that this works out. And I use those kinds of words. Because the likelihood of me talking to someone who maybe they aren't a parent, but maybe they're a brother or a sister who helps a sibling with their children, maybe they are taking care of a parent, you're still talking to another human. And so never miss an opportunity to connect in that way. But, when you're doing your question asking, right, it's important that you know that you're becoming a part of something. You are hoping that this is a situation where this organization is one that does care about family and does care about balance and understands that that's a priority as well. And so those questions that you ask are equally important, right? And so I do ask that. And it's a two-way street. And I would say honesty with oneself is important as well. Make sure that you're being real about what you can and cannot do at this point in your life, right? If you're in a situation where maybe you don't have as much support, and you do find yourself having to, be the main person, right? Getting your children to and from school and getting to all of the activities, and you take on that role, and you know that this executive is going to be extremely busy and they expect you to be on during times where you have to do those things. I think it's important to be real with yourself, and where you are, and understanding that that situation could change in the future. But right now, what is it that you need? What is it that you can do? And so I think that's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that. And I think on that same note, only you know what you're capable of giving, right? I mean, someone may look at your life and all that you have to do in the course of a day and go, there's no way I could do that. I could walk in those shoes. And for you, it's manageable, it's sustainable, you can handle it, right? And so I think that it really becomes a very subjective discussion that you need to have with yourself and with the leader that you're in conversation with, and not allow someone else to make that call for you. You've got to make that call for yourself, because there are people who are willing to, at the drop of a dime, get on a plane and accompany their executive wherever they need to go. There are some mothers that can do that because
Mm-hmm.
it's possible in their world. And there are
Mm-hmm.
some mothers where that would be an absolute deal breaker. And
Yeah.
so I think that rather than giving the power to somebody else to make those call those shots for you, you really got to know kind of what's feasible for you and what you're
Mm-hmm.
willing to give. And I agree. I mean, I think it does start with being honest and really going through an open discovery process.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the
And it's
ones that
uncomfortable.
can't handle it is uncomfortable, but at the same
Yeah.
time, the ones who can't handle that aren't for you.
Yes. Yes. Not every opportunity is a good opportunity,
No,
right? And and
no.
and you never know what maybe you might be being saved from by being honest and real with yourself and with a potential employer, right? And maybe it didn't work out, but you have no idea what you might have saved yourself from. And I'm speaking from experience when I say that, so
Yeah. Okay. So takeaway is
yeah.
share it. But at this, you're not just saying, just to qualify, you're not saying just, put all your cards on the table and, be an open book about things, but you are saying, put some of the cards on the table, ask the right questions, but also what I'm hearing very clearly in your advice, Camille, is also underscore your commitment to the job and make sure that you're leading with that as well. And you're not just leading with the excuses and the challenges that are going to come up, but you're also leading with these are my realities and here's my commitment to you. And I think it's the 1-2 punch. Like you've got to back it up with, I'm really hoping this opportunity works out because this is the kind of commitment I can make to you and your role. So I think that positioning is pretty important.
Most definitely. Yes.
So what do you think companies can do to better support working mothers in demanding roles like the ones that you've been in?
Yeah. I think that flexibility, when and where it can happen, I think offer that up. I think that that's key. Giving the flexibility, right? Um, and that can mean different things based on the situation and what's going on at the company. But I think that allowing that to be part of the conversation from early on, man, the things that women can do with from a phone. Like we will make magic happen.
The things that women can do, period. We could just end it with that.
Like, I do. I think offering the flexibility option, right? The opportunity to be remote, or the opportunity to, I feel like offer it up, right? And create a situation where, for working mothers, it's important for us to be able to be, usually it's multiple places at once. I don't know how else to say that. I need to be, it needs to be, a kind of situation where it's like, if you give us the opportunity to show up for you, and if I can answer the phone and I'm at a basketball game like you described, and that's okay, if there's a little bit of background noise, right? The understanding and the flexibility is everything, because we can still get it done if you give us that opportunity. But if you don't offer the flexibility, and you do have to be at the office, and that in some situations that's what it is. At all times, during during work hours and whatnot, that's kind of what it is. But offering flexibility can go a long way, because I feel like you can get even more out of, someone who's already, a rock star.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that pays dividends in terms of appreciation for the employer, loyalty to the employer, because when someone is meeting you at where you need them to meet you and giving you those moments, and not creating discord in your life, but rather allowing you to kind of be in harmony with those other factors, I think that is the formula for me of commitment and loyalty. That's how you create that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'm notorious for getting all expressions wrong, but I feel like there's an expression like, if you need to get something done, ask a busy person to do it, right? Like, isn't there something like that? Something along those lines. Someone could invite you and be like, yeah, you're like, and if it's not an expression, we just made one. I really feel like that's the thing, right? Like the more impacted you are, the more you have going on, the more plates you're spinning simultaneously, you understand kind of what that momentum looks like and how to be productive. And you don't waste time and sweat the small stuff because you can't afford to. You're in execution mode. You're in hyper execution, GSD, let's go mode, right? Get stuff done mode. And I think that, I'll speak for myself. Like, I have no doubt that becoming a mother made me much more effective in my work, and actually has allowed me to take on a lot more, because I've learned how to be efficient and not waste time in things that can be done faster, or don't take on things I don't need to take on. So,
Yep.
yeah.
100%. And not to sweat the small stuff, to move on past it,
Yep.
to keep rolling down your list,
Yeah.
right? For sure.
Yep. Keep it pushing.
That's right. That's right.
So I have a final question for you, which is the question we ask of all of our guests, which is, if you could support anyone throughout the course of history and the course of time, who would you choose to support?
wait, Jessica,
Yes.
have you ever answered this question?
No. No, I haven't. I have not. Are you trying to put me in the hot seat, Camille? Let me explain how this works.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't even know how I would answer that question. I don't. I'll think about it.
I feel like I would love to be able to support the first woman president of the United States.
Ooh, when is that going to be, Camille?
Right. I would love to support that person and be that person's right hand. Whoever that's going to be, I would love to be in the room. I would love to be that right hand.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, Camille Howard, that is the mic drop answer, period. In the 4 years we've been doing this program, that is the mic drop answer. I love that. I hope that you're not retired by the time that day happens.
Me too.
Right? I hope we can do that in our lifetime. I mean, we kind of came close for a minute. We kind of came close.
Yes.
That would be something.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
It
that
would
really be
it
something.
I feel like that would put the cherry on top of my journey. Yeah.
Truly. Yeah. And also it would make a lot of sense because you've spent time in those arenas. Like, you know how to navigate in that world. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, but we do want to hear what your answer is at some point.
Okay, that's fair. Let me think on it. I will.
Okay.
I will get back to you. Yes. Well, what a fun treat for our Mother's Day episode. I love this. There's so many moms that I think are going to hear your story and just feel really validated and really seen. And it is a sacrifice and it's hard. It's a hard going road. This road is hard. As you started off the conversation, this was harder than combat in some ways, more harrowing, and it's the long haul, right? It's not like the short journey. So I just really love hearing your story and being able to share your story as an example of what is possible. And I think it's a really wonderful example of how to have it all, and also at the same time being honest and acknowledging that it doesn't come without hard work. And I appreciate you just sharing your journey with everyone today. It's a wonderful story. So thank you, Camille. Thank you for this.
Thank you.
Reach is brought to you by Maven Recruiting Group, who specializes in placing executive assistants and support staff to the Bay Area's most prominent executives and companies. If you've enjoyed being part of our podcast community and are interested in becoming part of our candidate community, we're currently hiring for roles in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and Los Angeles. You can visit us at www.mavenrec.com to see some of the roles we're currently working on and to submit your resume.